Well, here we are in App Designer, and the app that I've actually loaded is the final example from the data source course. Now, what I intend to do here is add a radial gauge, which will show the percentage of the credit limit that the customer has actually used. So the first things first, we need to actually add the gauge control. And here's the pane that is actually popped up. So we will change the description here. Close that. Now, the first thing that App Designer needs to know is which of the two gauges do we want to do. So we will select a radial gauge. Now it's populated the pane with the right gauge with some default values. So first things first, we will give it a title. And notice as we move off the properties, it updates the control as we're going along. We want percent as the units. Then what we've got is we can set the 0 position either on the left or in the middle, or we want it on the left. The divider, scale, and maximum scale values here are controlling the size of the scale. So we're going from 0 to 100 because we want 100% in 5, 10, 15, 20 sections. So and then what this means is that the scale will show 10, 20, 30, 40, as you see around here. Label position will be on the outside of the ranges. We can set it to test value should we want to check it to test it. And you can see that the pointer is going round here. And now we can configure the ranges. Now, the ranges, it's all explained in the documentation, which I'll show you in a short while. But the ranges start at minus 130 degrees, go up to 0, and come through to plus 130 degrees. So what we're basically saying here is from minus 130 to 70, up to 0 and over to 70 is green. From 70 to 110 is yellow, and then onwards to red. So if we want to change this, we would pop something in here. We might say let's use 45. And we need to make this the same. And you can play around with this to your heart's content. Now, the ranges don't have to be visible. You can turn them off. You can have just one. Another technique would be to make all three the same color. You can tinker around to your heart's content. The idea being, of course, that what you're trying to indicate is that wherever the pointer is going, it's giving the operator some indication is everything okay. So that's basically it for setting it up. Now, what App Designer will do with all these properties is as the app loads, it will create an XML string with this default data, and it will initialize the control for you. So you don't have to do anything in VBScript at all. All we've got to do now is tell it what value or what data point for the pointer needs to happen as we move from customer to customer. And we do that in the VBScript. So let's go and have a quick look at that. Okay, then. So by now you'll all be familiar with the VBScript and the programming style. So here we have our constants for our toolbar, doing a little bit of initialization, nothing to do with the gauge control. That's all to do with the data source and stuff like that. But here we are now on our App Designer on user event. So there's our close event, which we've done in all our samples so far. There's our help screen. But when we change the customer, we're actually executing a function in the VBScript called update gauge. So let's go and have a quick look at that. That's down here. So what I'm doing with update gauge is I'm defining a few variables. I'm populating these variables with information from the form. So I'm picking up the current balance and the credit limit. I'm doing some logic here. I'm basically saying, well, if there is a credit limit set and it's greater than 0, then do a calculation. If it happens to be 0, then we're assuming 100% usage on the credit limit, and a few bits and pieces. But fundamentally, all I have to do is create a very, very short XML string, call gauge update, and present it with XML. Now, this is because App Designer has already done all the hard work for you, setting up the look and feel, title, and all the other bits and pieces. And that's all you actually have to do. So let's go and see this actually running. Okay, great. So we've actually, the app has actually initialized itself. Our initialization of our gauge is okay. There's our title, our units, our scale, and everything like that. All we have to do here now is if we type in a customer, and there we go. It's really very, very simple, but you can imagine as you're popping in customers, it might stock codes, whatever app you're writing, that this is a sort of fairly simple way of being able to say to somebody, if the pointer's in the orange, then keep an eye on it. If it's in the red, do something about it. And if it's in the green, it's all sorted. But of course, if that pointer is right on the edge of the orange and the red, there may be something to sort of say you need to make an alert. So that's the radial gauge in a nutshell. What we'll do next is we'll move on and have a look at how the customize or the gauges work in standard customized panes on standard Syspro programs. I almost forgot. I did promise to show you the documentation. So when you're looking at the properties of the gauge, right at the bottom of the properties here, there's a hyperlink called View Documentation. And if we click that, it will open up the RTF file. So the file is called the same as the .NET User Control, but RTF. And there's a full manual here explaining how it works, what each of the elements do, some examples, and so on like that, and how it actually works. You can obviously browse it here. Personally, I would probably go to base managed assemblies and use Microsoft Word and print it off. But you'll find a manual for the radial gauge and the arc gauge in that directory. So that's that done. So let's go and have a look at the customized panes.